I'm talking today with Dr. Van Tusch, who's a research fellow at the University of Melbourne, and he's the lead researcher on Activity 3B. So, Van, could you briefly tell us what is Activity 3B?
Project Activity 3B is more about building on the findings and the work of the Project Activity 1, 2 and 3A, which is about trying to establish the baseline understanding about the agrarian change, about the household, about the farmers, and about what being a farm. So that is the Activity 3A. And for the Activity 3B, it's about expanding our understanding of what farmers actually do on their land, and we also want to understand why they do what they do. So in this Activity 3B, we'll have two sub-activities there. One is about trying to document their practice and input that they apply or they use on their land through record keeping from the start of the season to the harvesting. And then sub-activity 2 of the Activity 3B, which is about trying to understand why farmers do what they do through a fieldwork exercise. So we plan to do maybe around 3 times for the whole cropping season. First, we may start at maybe around planting time, and second maybe during the mid-growing season, and the last field work exercise around the harvesting time.
Really interesting.
Yeah, thank you.
And at what phase is Activity 3B?
So recently we just finished revising the design of Activity 3A and 3B, and I think we feel like we are ready to start implementing this activity within this month, I think.
Exciting. And can you tell us, what have you learned from the project over the last 12 months, which has been influencing your design of this activity?
For me, I've learned a lot from participating the Project Activity 1 around interviewing experts, and from joining the Activity 2 implementing household census survey, and of course a lot from meeting with our staff, our project team about implementing this project. Perhaps I should maybe share you one or two learnings that I feel is important maybe to share to you and maybe the audience. From the expert interview, I did ask a question to the expert about, in your opinion, what do you think farmer will want us as a researcher or a development agency to help them? One of the response that I've got from the expert is that she told me that the farmers would want us to listen to them very carefully. It's important that we understand their problem and we understand how they want us to help them. Because farm household is not simple. It's not just about farming, but farmers dealing with so many different and complex issues. So we cannot just assume these are the problems of the farmers and those problems should be addressed. It's not that simple. Another important lesson learned that I've got from this project so far is about farmers facing so many problems. One of the big problems that I've learned is that farmers have big issue with household debt, and I was told that farmers borrow money or take loans to run their families and to run their farms without taking loan or agricultural input credit, farmer cannot do farming. These two learnings telling me that before we implementing or introducing any intervention, we should have a very good understanding about the farmers, about the problem, about what they can do and how they want us to help them. And for me, I'm an agronomist, and I think, oh, maybe I should help farmers to improve their crop yields. Maybe farmers should try this technology, this practice. But farmers took loan to do farming. So what happens if something wrong? And that maybe affect them so much. So for this reason, I have to consult with them, make sure that they understand this is the practice, what are the risks, and if involve increasing input costs. Those are the things that I find it very useful, and it reminds me, and I feel like this is something that this project is working on. We are very careful about what we want to help them. That's why we have a lot of data collection to actually understand the context of the location of the farmer.
Maybe you can tell us now what's the plan for Activity 3B for the next 12 months?
Well, because we already have the design of the activity, we'll start implementing Activity 3A first, which is around trying to understand what being a farm as specified by farmers. And then from there we'll conduct the second part of the Activity 3, we call it Activity 3B. That is to document the farming practices and input. And then we'll start implementing the fieldwork exercise, try to understand why farmers do what they do, and hopefully we would identify some of the challenges, some of the risks along the way, and we should have learned so many other things from that activities. So we'll start implementing the Activity 3, both A and B, from now, maybe from this month, and for the whole year.
And final question, what are you hoping to find out?
So let me focus just Activity 3B. So by keeping record of the farming practices and the input that farmers use, we should be able to identify different factors that affect the yield and the return, which is the cross match in this case. And from the fieldwork exercise, we should be able to really understand why farmers apply a specific practice or use specific input at different times of the year. And this will allow farmers to really tell us the situation, their circumstances, that would be the way that they should implement specific practice or use specific input on their land. This finding should enable us to understand and perhaps identify pathway and opportunity to actually support them through, I think, the project Activity 6 around intervention. So those are the things that we expect to gain from this Activity 3B. Thank you.
Very interesting. Thank you so much for your time today, Van.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.